This is kind of a video I have to try to explain myself as best as I can as to why I only try to eat plants or substances that are grown or that grow on plants. The main reason I think is that just as I know I feel, and that I can feel myself being alive. Okay, I know I'm alive because I feel cold, I feel hot, I feel tired, I feel alive, and that I can communicate that because of knowledge, because of what's been gained through years and years and years of passing down oral traditions, written traditions, recording events through and phonics and being able to put words together, that I can communicate that. Other than that, if I couldn't, I would probably because I see myself as very similar to other animals, and that if whatever happens to the animal, and that animal, I wouldn't want to hurt an animal. I wouldn't want to impose any kind of discomfort on another creature, and that I'm consciously very much aware of that, in that is I want to live my life so that I want to have the least amount of effects that are negative or bad effects on other animals and other beings that are around me that I exist with. So that as I'm aware of that, as I'm aware of those other animals, and that other animals have feelings, and they have just as much a right to not be molested or hurt or harmed, and that I feel that my diet, what I eat and how I eat to survive, and I've been very, very strict, probably up at 2011 was when I really became like more vegan than vegetarian. I think I was mostly more vegetarian um, before that. And I'm sympathetic towards people that are like Nordic, or that live in a northern climate, that have to hunt to live, to survive. They're either hunting seals or or other animals that they need for meat, for consumption, because in their environment where they're living, historically they've never been able to grow roots or berries, or they've never had the plants available for them to sustain themselves. And also I'm very much aware of it throughout human history. There's been times of great famines. Even my ancestors lived through periods of where there was hardly any food to eat, that they had to hunt, they had to catch prey or whatever they could catch to eat to survive. And that, okay, I recognize that, and I recognize that I'm omnivore. If I choose, I can eat other animals or other, you know, milk or cheese or eggs or other products from animals. That these, because of where I live, it's available for me to live a plant-based diet. It's easy for me and it's affordable for me to live a plant-based diet. Therefore, I choose that as a lifestyle. And that trying to explain this, especially to coworkers and other family members and other people that live in my proximity, is difficult to do. I don't have the time or the patience to try to sit down with them and explain this to them. Um, and I see it that people are insensitive also. If you just mention that maybe you don't eat meat, they see that as somehow that you're like you're trying to be a moral authority, or you're preaching, or you're like being like you want to put them down, um, or they take it as like, oh, you're not going to sit down and have a meal with me? What's wrong with you? Why can't you just sit down and have a meal with me? And it's the same reason probably I say, well, I can't drink alcohol, because if I drink alcohol in my past, I've had moments in my past where I drank too much and I did things that were totally against, that weren't my nature, that were against who I am, and that I was a failure at that. So I recognize that as a weakness in my own person. But because of my growing knowledge of throughout time, I've come to realize that other animals, birds, fish, cows, pigs, sheep, um, should be left alone. They should be just given the chance to just live and not be bothered. And that what goes into raising an animal and taking care of an animal and then killing it for meat is kind of horrible. It's horrifying if you think about it. Even hunting. I mean, I understand if somebody's starving to death and there's no other food available, they need to go out and trap or kill an animal to eat it. And I understand that. So, but as far as me, I go to the grocery store and I see plenty of food that's available for me that I can eat and live and be totally nutritionally fulfilled by those foods. So, the other thing is the idea of there being, of consciousness being a universal experience, and that it was just as much a statistical probability that my consciousness emerged as a human form as a statistical probability that my consciousness could have emerged as a dog form or a cat form or a cow form or a pig form or a fish form or any other kind of animal, sentient animal form that could have emerged. That it was just just it was just a um, it was a it was just that I was human. I became a human, and that it could have just as easily if I could have just as easily have been another kind of animal. So this gives me great reverence and respect and awe for other life forms that aren't even as aware of themselves, as consciously aware of themselves as myself as a human. But I recognize that potentially there is awareness there, and that there needs to be a deep respect for that to be held in something that needs to be cared about, and that being sensitive emotionally and caring about other things, other life forms, is good. That's what I found out. It's good for me. I live better. I sleep better. I can live with myself better, knowing that I'm at least trying. I'm not 100%. I have a bit of cheese once in a while, or somebody gives me eggs or something, and I I go out of my way to try to be vegan. I eat lots of nuts and seeds and grains and greens and fruit, and I try to plan my diet to where there is no animal products. I've had a few times where I got some top ramen noodles with the chicken flavored. I get those, I break, or I have some chocolate with some milk in it or something. But other than that, I'm really trying to be aware of that, what I do and how I use my money and what I buy with my money as far as food, how it affects how it affects the environment. How am I being alive on this earth, and how I'm living is having an effect on everyone else and every other animal on the earth. So anyhow, I just thought I'd share that just to let you know where I'm coming from. There's a lot of squirrels around here today. I thought I'd come out here, and the wife has the TV on, so it's kind of hard to get away from that. So anyhow, have a nice solstice. Good. Next year will be, maybe better than this year for a lot of people. I hope more people, that things will get better. You always hope that the world will become a better place, a more nurturing place, a place where people are more alive, they're more free, that there's more people produce more art, that people have more freedom and liberty to do and live how they want to live, and that there's less violence in the world. You always hope that there's less violence in the world, that there's less suffering in the world. And that if you can be a person and you live your life and live in such a way as to cause less amount of suffering in how you live, that's all the better for you, as a person. See you around.